everyone, my name is HudatQueen94. Welcome to my YouTube channel. I'm a huge New Orleans Saints fan, as well as being a huge fan of the NFL. And week 13 has come and gone. And yes, I know that I did not upload a video last week, and that was on me. I had ample time to do it. And truth be told, I actually did record a video. I just didn't upload it, and I figured, what's the point since that week has come and gone? So I'll call it my phantom video. But I kind of do want to give a little bit of a shout out to the 49ers here in this video. I feel like because we scored nothing, what's the point of doing a play-by-play? We didn't score anything, so nothing really to talk about. Because ironically, a lot of the problems that we faced in that loss, we ended up facing in this loss. So I'd sound like a broken record talking about the same thing over and over again. Which seems to be the theme in these videos. And I gotta say, this is the first time I've experienced a shutout as a Saints fan, which would make sense because it was 332 games or 21 years. And I gotta tell you, it really does blow. I've been to one Saints game, and that was not the best experience. It was not in New Orleans, so I didn't get that, Saints experience. But still, it was a Saints game regardless, so I'm not gonna complain about it, But it was a 6-24 game, and, that's kind of a lame score. I mean, Drew Brees didn't even score a touchdown. That was the only time I ever got to see Brees. But at least I can say, well, at least we didn't actually get shut out. So, but now that I know what that feels like, I gotta tell you, I absolutely hate it. I hope it doesn't happen again anytime soon. I hope we go 21 years without getting shut out again. But either way, I do want to shout out again to the 49ers. They did their job. It was a 13-0 game. Nothing to really talk about. Everybody was to blame. No one more so than Kamara for coughing it up twice. That's just my opinion. But, yeah. Sorry about that. But best of luck to the 49ers moving forward. As I mentioned, great defense. They have Hufanga, so I really like this guy. Probably because I like saying his last name, but I think he's a great player, so shout out to them. I don't know what the situation's going to be with Jimmy Garoppolo, if he comes back, for the playoffs, but shout out to them. But we do have a game to talk about, which would be the Saints at the Bucs. And I do want to say this, if it matters or doesn't matter, but today is my birthday, so that is why I'm dressed like this without my Saints gear on. And funny story, actually the Saints have lost twice on my birthday. Now, they didn't play on my birthday this year, but they have lost twice. So on my 20th birthday, they played the Panthers and they lost. And then on my 23rd birthday, they played the Falcons and they lost. So kind of a theme going on here with my birthday and the Saints losing. But either way, I thought it was kind of just funny to share. But anyway, we got a game to talk about, so without further ado, let's dive into it. Saints at Bucs. Okay, so in the first quarter, the Bucs get the ball to start. The Bucs go downfield on a nice drive, but Saints stop them and they're forced to settle for a field goal of 21 yards from suck-up to make it a 3-0 game with 6:25. Dalton goes long for Shaheed for 40 yards at midfield. Bucs lead the Saints 3-0. Nothing of interest there. Second quarter. After a decent drive, Saints are forced to punt. Dalton throws to Shaheed for 18 yards at 10:20. Dalton throws to Troutman for 20 yards at 8:51. Dalton then throws to Taysom Hill for the 30-yard touchdown with 7:33. Dalton goes long to Olave, but the pass is dropped, forcing the Saints to punt with 4:02. DeMario gets an interception with 1:27. Dalton goes long to Landry in the end zone, but the pass is incomplete, which forces the Saints to kick a 38-yarder with 20 seconds left. Saints lead the Bucs 10-3 to end the half. Third quarter. Saints get the ball to start. Bucs force a 3-and-out. A throw to Mike Evans puts the Bucs in Saints territory with 11:53. White fumbles for the Bucs and it's recovered by Granderson with 10:06. Hill throws to Olave for 21 yards to get into the red zone with 6:37. Saints get first and goal from Troutman. Lutz kicks a 21-yard field goal to make it a 13-3 game. with 250 to end the quarter. Fourth quarter, because this is where we know it gets interesting. Bucs start the fourth with a punt. Dalton throws a nice pass to Olave for 30 yards to keep the drive alive with 13:22. Carlton Davis gets a PI, which gives the Saints a first down to put them in the red zone. Dalton throws to Olave to get into field goal range. Lutz hits a 29-yarder to make it a 16-3 game with 8:02 left to go. Saints sack Brady with 7:36. Saints fail to keep the drive alive as Mark Ingram steps out 1 yard short of the first with 6:05. Paulson Adebo gets a pass interference call to put the Bucs at the 1 with 3:03 left to play. Bucs get a 1 yard touchdown to Cade Otten with 3 left to play. Dalton is sacked with 250 by Nassib. On 3rd and 17, Dalton goes long to Hill, but it's dropped at midfield with 16 seconds left. Bucs go downfield with 16 seconds left. Brady hits Godwin for the touchdown, but it's brought back due to a holding penalty. Brady then hits White for the 6-yard touchdown with 3 seconds left. The extra point would be good. Bucs beat the Saints 17-16. Yep. So, you know what? It's always something, isn't it? I feel like it's always something with this team, and there comes to a point where you really just can't defend it anymore, and I feel like this loss is like on another level of stupidity, in my honest opinion. And we've lost pretty bad games, especially in the final seconds. You know, I can give you some examples here. 49ers in 2011. Patriots in 2013, of course, to Brady when he threw that pass to Tompkins, when I think we were like, 5-0 at that point. And the Vikings in 2018. My bad. But what makes this loss super, super unbearable is that we had it. We had this win pretty much wrapped up. And we blew it in the final 3 minutes. So, you know, and the ones I mentioned were relatively close. But this, we had the win. So, you know, imagine playing solid football for 57 minutes and just completely shutting down. Now, I could kind of excuse the garbage time touchdown, you know, with like 3 minutes left to go. You know, it was at that point 10-16. I could excuse that a little bit. But the last one, we'll get into that one right now. But, I mean, I have to say that, you know, the sense of entitlement and arrogance, and we allowed that man to go downfield not once, but twice, to score, you know, 2 touchdowns to win this game. So, you know, or to put points on the board, as I should say. And if I'm being honest, I really do wish that Tom Brady would just go away. I wish that he would finally just retire. Go live the single life, you know, enjoy the rest of your life, enjoy your freedom. But, okay, fine, the guy doesn't want to retire. Then can you, like, please just go play football for some other team? Because I'm really sick and tired of looking at that face. It's just a punchable face. He looks like an anorexic bird. I don't know what he did, but you can tell he looks like he had work done. I mean, you know, it's just, I can't stand looking at his whiny, punchable face. You know, I wish he'd just go somewhere else. But anyway, not to, you know, we'll talk about Tom Brady a little bit later. But I am so sick and tired of Tom Brady. I just can't with this guy. And to see him all happy on the sideline after that, you know, if it was any other team, I would be mad. But to see him, gloating, I couldn't. I never really want to think about this game ever again. I just want to talk about it and just move on. Anyway, we have to talk about it. So, what went wrong? Well, probably a lot of similar things that went wrong last week. I think the play calling was awful. I think it was awful last week too. I feel like we mismanaged Taysom. Now, what do I mean by this? Now, when it was Drew Brees would throw to Taysom, and Sean Payton knew how to utilize Taysom. And I think DA and Pete got cocky. You know, it worked against the Rams, so they tried it against the 49ers, and they tried it against the Bucs. But they put Taysom in these positions that we normally don't see Taysom in. You know, we know that he's a great runner, and I'd say he's probably like a very powerful fullback. You know, apparently the Saints have a fullback, by the way. Didn't even know that. It's a dying position. But, you know, Taysom is great at blocking. He's great at running. He's a decent thrower. He's a decent thrower. You know, he's an okay quarterback, but receiving, I know he's listed as a tight end, and I know he had that touchdown. But it just doesn't, we don't normally see Taysom in these type of roles. So last week when he was in the end zone trying to get that, you know, touchdown, and it was, you know, he dropped it. And again, in this game when it was 3rd and 17, it was a nice ball by Andy Dalton, and that would have picked up the first, and we could have kept that drive alive. But, you know, I mean, yeah, granted it was probably triple coverage, but still, Taysom has to do a better job of catching that ball. I thought it was a great ball, in my honest opinion, but just, Taysom dropped it. It just, there seems to be some sort of mismanagement. And I think they work decently together, not like, it's not ever going to be like Breeze, but I think they work well together, Andy and Taysom, but not in that type of situation. So I feel like they mismanage Taysom a lot. I think Taysom works. I just think they don't utilize him correctly. That's what I'm trying to say. Some other bizarre calls, not going for it when you should go for it. I mean, I felt like there was a moment in there where we could have gone for it on 4th and 1 or 4th and 2 and picked up the... Because I mean, you have to learn to sustain... We didn't sustain drives, is basically what I'm saying. And we could have done things differently. And last week, we didn't kick a field goal, so we could have taken at least something home with us. So certain things here and there that could have gone differently. But either way, just mismanagements here and there, in my honest opinion. So sorry about that. But again, the receivers again dropped the ball on this one, literally. A lot of different... Oh, and I want to say this, by the way. If you are on the Fire, DA, and Pete train or bandwagon, you'll probably get your wish. Did want to throw that in. But anyway, receivers are not catching passes. And I'm not going to say that Andy Dalton has thrown, you know... I mean, he's thrown a lot of decent passes that are catchable. And the receivers are not catching these passes. Some of them... Okay, I get that was maybe more on Andy. But a lot of them, very catchable in my honest opinion. So it feels like there's sort of like a bug going around with our receivers. So, you know, and listen, I love Olave. I really, truly do love Olave. But the kid has got to learn. And truth be told, that was on him. So that drop pass right there, completely on him. There's no way to excuse it. There's no chemistry between Dalton and Landry. They don't seem to be on the same page a lot of the times. The only player that deserves credit who hasn't completely dropped the ball is probably Shaheed. I think Shaheed has been consistent enough in both these games. And I think he deserves more of an opportunity to be in bigger situations because I think he's a great player. And I'd like to see more of him, honestly. But we didn't exactly have Juwan. Well, we didn't have Juwan. Not exactly. We did not have him. And I feel like that's Dalton's best target at the moment. So maybe that might have affected things a little bit. But again, these receivers and these drop passes, they haven't been good for us. And they happen to drop these passes in critical moments that maybe could have been game changers. So I don't know what it is. Maybe it's a bug. I don't know. But that's another thing that is really, really concerning. As I mentioned, Shaheed had 75 yards, Olave had 65. So, not great numbers, but, you know, not terrible numbers. As far as the run game goes, analyzing this game, I know I didn't upload the video. I would have said I didn't think we would be able to run on these defenses. They got great stout run defenses. Ingram led with 1 yard more than Kamara with 27 yards, but he failed to pick up that big first down. Could have kept the drive alive. So he acknowledged it and he apologized for it, and sadly, unfortunately, he is not going to be coming back. So, not because he, you know, got cut, at least I don't think he got cut, but he's dealing with an injury, so he will not be coming back. And I am sorry about that. as for Kamara, Kamara hasn't been great lately, and, he wasn't great last week either. He fumbled a lot, and I kind of did want to lay into him a little bit last week, and I did, because again, those fumbles completely entirely his fault. And I feel like ever since that incident happened in the offseason, Kamara just hasn't been himself. Not to dog on him, but he is the face of the franchise since Breeze retired. So, I feel like when that came out, I don't know, he's kind of seemed to not be as good as we know he can be. And listen, I'm not trying to dog on him. I hear he does a lot of great things for the city. So, and I think that these games are not a reflection on what we know him to be as an NFL player, but, just hasn't been great this year. I'm sorry to say. But either way, they have a really great run defense, and I will give them credit for that. We do have to talk about Dalton. That's why I saved it for last. And I kind of didn't really want to, but let's talk about Dalton. Dalton had 433 yards passing, 200 yards rushing. No, I'm just messing. 22 yards rushing, 1 touchdown, 0 interception, 19 incompletions, 3 sacks, and did lead in rushing against the 49ers. So these numbers aren't great, nor are they terrible. We can have this discussion time and time again, but I feel like at this point in the season, what exactly is the point? I feel like the decision has already been made. He's been consistent enough to keep his job, and it's a lot of these losses not completely on him, not 100% on his fault. His fault. Now, as I mentioned, has he thrown some weird balls, that dirt ball? Yeah, he has, but is it all on him? I don't think so. And I think with all the problems that the Saints have, Winston can't come in and save this team. No matter what, these quarterbacks can only throw the ball, and sometimes they'll run if they need to, obviously. But they don't catch passes, they don't kick balls, and they don't play defense. And we have struggled in every single aspect of that this season, from coaching to, again, receivers not paying attention, run game not working, everything that I just mentioned is a problem. Every aspect of this team is a problem, and Winston can't come in and save this team from that. That's my opinion. Now, I know I got sucked into it, but truth be told, if I'm being honest, I don't really care who plays quarterback. I just want somebody to take us to the next level, which would be the playoffs. But based on the way that the Saints have played, I don't have any hope for that anymore. So what's the point? What's the point of bringing in Winston? And some people might say, well, yeah, why not? Since there's no hope, why not throw in Winston? Okay, maybe you have a fair argument there. But either way, I don't think that Winston is going to play unless Andy Dalton gets injured or he has a really terrible game where he throws 5 interceptions, which could be possible. But either way, we can keep having this debate, because I know that there are a lot of Winston fans out there that are on this bandwagon that just want to bash Andy Dalton. Even if the whole team screws up, no, it's all on Andy Dalton. And there are some people that are like, Andy Dalton's just not that bad. It's not 100% his fault. It is what it is. I like to be real. I call it like I see it. So, again, it's a little late in the season to be having this debate. And I get it, though, because the Saints still weirdly have a chance to make the playoffs. But either way, as I mentioned, Winston can't solve all of our problems. Neither can Dalton, and neither can Taysom. But for what it's worth, I can't imagine that Andy Dalton would stick around another season. And I feel kind of the same way about Winston, given what went down. I would love to keep Taysom. I would love to keep Taysom and hold him as long as we can until he decides it's time to retire. I would love for him to retire sane. But anyway, let's move on, because we got to talk defense. And this is what I don't get about the defense. They held the 49ers to 13 points, winnable game. And up until the final 3 minutes, held the Bucs to 3 points. and yet we still lost those games. And what's crazy is that the defense had 2 turnovers in this game. They had nothing in the last one, but 2 turnovers in this game. So where did it go wrong? Last week, Chris Harris had 2 major penalties that put the 49ers in a position to score points. And in this game, it was Paulson and Debo. Now listen, again, I can kind of maybe forgive the garbage time touchdown. I say garbage time because it really felt like the game was over, right? So, to make it a 10-16 game, right? I could kind of forgive it, but you don't know if Evans would have actually had the touchdown anyway. He didn't need to grab him like that. That was obviously going to be called. You can see from a mile away, and that put them at the 1 with 3:03. So that right there, bad judgment call on his part. And I feel like on defense, they're not focused, and I think that was a prime example of that. So we didn't stay focused, and because of that, we allowed them to go downfield not once, but twice to get those points and the point after to win the game. So, they played too soft. They didn't blitz. They didn't cover. Missed tackles. And I think that's kind of just basically what it comes down to. Because weirdly enough, they stopped the run in both these games. They held backs to under 50 yards rushing. They didn't allow a 100-yard receiver. Chris Godwin led with 65 yards. So knowing how good Chris Godwin is, those are not great numbers for him. They did allow a lot of yards to Tom Brady. So, probably in that final drive or in the fourth, almost 300 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, total collapse. So no awareness either, and that's what's sad. And, especially in that final touchdown, they allowed that 6-yard touchdown because the defense kind of split. So that left a hole open for White to go in and get that touchdown. So again, no awareness. And I feel in order to be successful, you have to be in sync on both sides. If the defense gets a takeaway, you have to do your job offensively to go and get points, right? And if the offense has to punt, you have to do your job as a defense to make sure that other team gets off the field so your offense can come back, right? You got to be in sync. And in 2 consecutive games, that just hasn't been the case. So, and one more thing to mention, we settled for field goals. And we've done that several times. Hit and miss, not taking advantage of great opportunities. Shoulda, coulda, woulda situation. And, defense isn't good enough. And the Saints, they're just not good enough. I love my team, but I have to call it like I see it. Either way, when it comes down to it, again, Saints weirdly have a chance to still make the playoffs. And, you just got to hope that the other teams collapse. I don't think that anyone in the NFC South is good enough to make the playoffs. So, whoever does, probably, I'm hoping will get, eliminated wildcard weekends. So, serious question, though. Serious question. Saints fans, Bucs fans, Falcons fans, Panthers fans, I don't even know who watches me, but serious question, and be real. If the season ended today, would you really want your team to make the playoffs, knowing how bad they are and the many issues that they have? Because I don't think that the Bucs played a great game. I mean, but I feel like the only fan base that would say yes would be Bucs fans. I can hear Skip Bayless in the background saying Tom Brady. Tom Brady is the only reason that the Bucs could go all the way. Even if the season ended, Tom Brady's going to take him to the Super Bowl. I can hear it. But in all seriousness, I gotta say, I would not want the Saints to make the playoffs with how bad that they've been. And I mean, congratulations to them, I guess. I feel like they'll probably be the ones to make the playoffs anyway. But either way, I'm holding out that they literally get eliminated. So anyway, 1 and done. But again, I guess shout out to them. Why not? And I hate to say this, and believe me, I hate to say this, but I don't think that the Bucs, well, no. I hate to say this, but I don't think that Tom Brady is completely licked. You know, he took advantage of the Saints' unwillingness to put the game away. So, you know, I still hate Tom Brady, and that's the thing about being a sports fan, is that sometimes there are players that you love, sometimes there are players that you hate, and it's a I love to hate Tom Brady situations. It's not going to be cupcakes and rainbows. I love to hate this guy, not ashamed to admit it. But either way, you know, bona fide Tom Brady hater here. But either way, I'm dragging, and so yeah, we have a bye. So there's no point in me taking more of your time and talking about how the Saints can possibly beat the Falcons. I'll save that for next week. Keep it a little bit shorter next week. So yeah, I think that is all I really have to say for now. You know, I think the Saints have some things to figure out by the time we play our next game. But either way, my name is HudatQueen94. I'm also on Twitter under the name HudatQueen94 or Olave, the Saint Savior. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If not, that's okay. I totally understand. If you'd like to subscribe, I'd much appreciate it. So yeah, thank you so much for watching, and go Saints. Hudat, baby. Okay, bye-bye.